Hello, everybody. My name is Average Election Enjoyer. Today, on July 5th of 2026, first of all, I'd like to wish everybody a happy 4th. I made a post about it, but of course, probably didn't see it, so this is the first time I can say it. Okay, so happy birthday, America. Happy 4th of July to all residing here. So first, with that little disclaimer, I want to, in this video, answer a very simple question. Can Democrats win the Iowa governorship in 2026? And to look at that, of course, this isn't going to be a ridiculous long video, but we have a couple of things to consider here. These are the 2026 polls for Iowa governor here. Of course, the general election is November 3rd, and you have Democrat Rob Sand taking on Republican Zach Land here in this gubernatorial election. So the first things to note is each candidate. Rob Sand is regarded as a very good candidate. He's perceived as a pretty moderate candidate. He's the only Democrat to hold statewide office. He was the auditor for a number of years, a couple of elections now, where he won a couple of very narrow elections. Versus Lon, more of a controversially perceived candidate, more of a MAGA Republican, and also has come under scrutiny for sandbagging here. This is one of the biggest parts and one of the commonalities you might see in Democrats winning these races that are perceived as not very feasible, and it is usually the case is a excellent Democratic candidate here and a less than spectacular Republican candidate. And that has been a problem that has continuously plagued the Republican Party. It bit them really hard in 2022. It bit them really hard in 2024. And once again in 2026, it is again looking like it is going to be a problem. You see it in Georgia, you see it in North Carolina, you see it in Texas. A series of poor Republican candidates are really opening up elections that shouldn't be possible for the Democrats to win. However, because of poor candidate choice and also good candidate choice for the Democrats, they are making these races competitive here. As you can see, we have three election, or not election, sorry, we have three polls here. We have Fox News poll, Siena College, and single polls here. These two are fairly decent pollsters. Fox News, obviously known, not associated with like the Fox News that you see on TV. I mean, it is associated, but the polls are depending on your perceptions of Fox News, the polls are independent and well regarded within the polls community, I guess, the election enjoyer community here. And Siena College as well is also perceived as a fairly trustworthy poll here. And you can see both of them have Rob Sand up by differing amounts. Siena College 48 to 47 with a 5% independent. This is, of course, a good result for Sam, but not super great because this is a Republican-leaning state. These others here, these independents, are very likely going to end up in the Republican column. However, Fox News tells a different story, with Sand at 53% of the vote to Land languishing around 44 here. This is a disastrous poll. For Land, I couldn't say disastrous because you can never call a poll disastrous because, you know, it doesn't mean that much in the long run. But this is not a good poll for Land here at all. This is a great poll for Rob Sand. He's at 53% of the vote. He doesn't have to worry about because of course these independents are all likely going to end up in the Republican column. It's the same thing if you were to see a close election in Minnesota. You would see the independents likely to swing towards the Democrats, same way, but in Iowa it's the converse, of course. So these polls are showing a very good sign for Rob Sand in this election. He's averaging 49% of the vote in these polls, getting 48 in the other two polls. So very strong numbers. And Land isn't even averaging 45 here in these polls. So not a very good amount. It seems to indicate that there are Republicans who are at least not willing yet to throw their hat into on behalf of Land here. And the most important thing for Democrats isn't even winning this election. The most important thing comes from their congressional districts. Can Rob Sand drag across the finish line one or two of the uh, Democratic candidates running for these 4 seats? Iowa is interesting because they have some very fair congressional districts. Look at the leanings. They have one very Republican seat, which it is a Republican state. That makes perfect sense. And then there are 3 competitive elections here. The second is the probably going to be the second least competitive here. Republican, she's ran very ahead of her marks in a couple of elections here. She won 57% of the vote in 2024, while she got 51% of the vote in 2020. So she is running ahead of Republican margins. She's fairly popular. This seat would likely only flip in a absolute landslide for the Democrats here. So these two are going to very likely remain in the Republican column. This one, 100%. Now, the first and the third are what are going to be the biggest opportunities for Democrats here in the state. If Rob Sand wins this election, then the second will be competitive, and these two will likely fall for the Democrats. At least the third will be in the Democrats' columns. The third is very likely to, or not very likely, but it's somewhat likely to flip. It is the least Republican seat. Iowa is facing, Trump's facing particular blowback from Iowa because of all the farmers. They're getting impacted by tariffs and that sort of the nature. So this is going to be probably a very scary election for Republicans, especially if Rob Sand does particularly well. If he wins the election, though, then that would give Democrats a solid chance of winning the first as well here. If we look at the track history in 2024, a recount confirmed that Miller Meeks elected to a third term by 799 votes here. And that is in 2024, a year that Republicans actually won the popular vote, which hasn't happened in a very long time. And not very long time, but hasn't happened in a presidential year in, quite a while. I believe the Republicans won the popular vote in 2022. However, bad candidate choice really affected them in terms of Senate, but they did win the House. However, with her barely winning in a Republican-leaning year by only 700 and a couple votes here, and if we look at the second seat in 2024, another very close election, 51.9 to 48.1. These two are on the cusp. They are seen as premier toss-ups, and the better that Rob Sand does, the closer he gets to winning. He gets to 49% in this election, barely loses the line. These two districts are gone for the Republicans. If he wins, they are definitely gone, and the second is going to be not in play, very unlikely to flip, but who knows? It just depends on how well he's able to run here. And see, there is recent precedent for this occurring here. In 2018, Democrats actually had a majority out of Iowa here. They won the popular vote by 4% here in 2018, another midterm swing year. In 2020, they were able to hold on to one of their seats. And in 2022, that is where Republicans were able to get their lockout. But Democrats held this seat here for, they've held this third seat up to 2022. So these are seats that are very much so swingy, very much so are willing to vote for Democrats, especially nowadays, even despite the big shakeups that we saw in coalitions starting in 2016. These are seats that Democrats can win and have won. So if Rob Sand is able to perform in the way that these polls might be suggesting, this is going to have a big impact on these seats here. And just to go back to answering the question here, I guess I should specify the question more as can Rob Sand win and what impacts will it have? But to answer the first part of that, yes, I think that Rob Sand can, in fact, win this election. He's won a couple of statewide elections before. He's seen as a very popular figure. His opposing candidate, Lan, is perceived not the greatest. He's perceived as a carpetbagger by some. Um, just another non-spectacular Republican candidate that we have grown used to here, just as I was saying with the election enjoyers, not just the community is what I like to think of it as. People who observe and watch elections and make predictions and whatnot. Republicans are known for running unspectacular candidates, and Land is just another one of those. Um, so yes, I think that Rob Sand can win this election. Will I call him the favorite? Of course not, but of course it's also in July. So we still have about 4 or 5 months until this election here. And that is really when we can see these polls are going to start to get closer. We're going to start to see, if there's more blowback, more protest, more just surprises occurring in these elections. That is really when we'll see who is likely to win this election. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.